Hey guys, welcome back to the Reed Homestead. Patrick again. Uh, Today we're going to do a year-end review of the CMA 6800 or 68cc with a 20-inch mark. A couple of people have been asking about the product, so I've got no complaints with it so far. I bought this in the spring. Lasted pretty much all summer without any interruptions. Usually it's maybe one or two pulls on the throttle before that throttle catches, and then pop the throttle in, one or two pulls, probably, two and two, but by the second pull starts right up. I have tuned it. My friend's got an electric Oregon sharpener, so chainsaw, sharpener. So I just had the chain sharpened about a week ago. I've only sharpened it. If I did it by hand, it's going to take an hour. So I definitely want to get an Oregon chainsaw sharpener because that's a pain. I need something that works right away. I'm not, I don't baby these things. I'm out there cutting wood for a reason, to get things done. So I want it to work. Doesn't have to be the sharpest. Doesn't have to, I'm not sitting there. I don't have an air compressor, so I'm not blowing dust all over the place every time I use it. So this is held up. Let's get into it a little bit. I'll show you the insides, how I clean it. Just basically carburetor choke cleaner, spray that off. I got, a couple years ago I bought a 3-pack of scrub brushes. One of them was this. This works great, so I use that. And then I asked my wife to get some silicone spray. WD-40 she comes home with. That had a special buy two get one free or whatever it was, but this isn't 100% silicone, so it does have WD-40 with silicone. It's a little different. I wouldn't use that on a tent or anything. If you're trying to waterproof something, not really what you want. You want 100% silicone spray. It's called silicone lubricant. You get it at Walmart for like $5. So, but let's take it apart and have a look at the insides. All right, and for the record, the radio is playing 100.7. So, YouTube, fair usage, public radio. Anyhow, I don't want to get in trouble for playing music, but I play music when I work. Now, most of this chainsaw, like most chainsaws, is plastic. That's to keep the weight down. I do have McCulloch, what is it, a Pro Max 610, and that's a metal frame, which is good. That's, they'll last a lot longer. Some of the complaints, I guess, that I would, or, is it a complaint? I don't know. It's not that big of a deal, but the tensioning for the chain is here on the front. That's kind of a pain. You want it, they have a screw hole right here. That's where you want it to be, but it's here. Like a lot of the Shinoa or Shindoa knockoffs. Okay? A lot of them are up here. The Huskies right here. It's a little more convenient. So I don't use the dogs, that come with it. So yeah, see. Now, what I do, and this isn't for everyone, obviously if you've got a really expensive chainsaw, you probably have an air compressor. So that's all I do. You just want to get rid of all that gunk. I do have wire brushes up on the porch, but this is just how I get the initial gunk out, you know. So you can see the cover is what concerned me most. So it does have, it is composite. What composite is, it's not just plastic. Composite is usually plastic with carbon mixed into it. That's what makes it composite. Okay, so what they do is when they melt down the plastic, they basically put in activated charcoal to make it more rigid. So I mean, you're not going to bend that. It does have this inside, which is also composite, that reduces heat. This thing hasn't warped at all, and I have used it. Not daily, but I'd say at least once or twice a week. I got a lot of trees down, so we just had another big oak taken out. Okay. Now, that's the initial. What I'm going to do is just take some of this carb cleaner, right? And we'll just spray that off. Don't want it on the patio per se, but so yeah, you can use the straw for a little more compression, right? So that's basically it, you know. Just get those fines out of there. It's gonna rain this week, so I'm not that worried about the patio. See, that comes right out. Not a big deal. I know there are some chainsaw purists and stuff that treat their chainsaws like they're children, but I'm not. So I just want something working, you know? Okay, so that's how I clean it. Just easy. Get it done. That's all it is. You just want to get it done. Now, after I clean that, what I'm going to do, go in with a little silicone spray, give that a shake, and just kind of coat that. Okay? That's going to prevent the sawdust from building up as easily, anyhow. WD silicone, never a bad thing to use. Okay? Now, the chain and bar. Let me clean that up. Not a big deal. Put that over here. Let's take the bar off. Pretty simple, like any other chainsaw. Snap it back, pull the chain. Okay. Now, we're just gonna get all that gunk. Look at it. Let me go get a wire brush so I can get up under there. This is again just to get most of it. One second. All right, let's just zoom in a little bit so you can see a little easier. Okay. Now, I got this big beefy one. Just kind of give it a good rub down, you know. And then this one gets under. You want to get the sprocket. Down and dirty cleanup, basically. You know, I was telling you, the unboxing for this was just maybe five or six videos ago in the spring. I don't know, maybe 7, 8, I don't know, 6, 7. So, whatever you see, you know, basically get the gunk, right? And then you're going to go in with your carb cleaner and just hit it. That's it. Easy peasy. Okay? Not having to lug out a 100-pound compressor. Done. Never a bad idea. Hit a little WD-40. Not going to hurt. Okay. That's it. Okay. Now, a couple of things. When I did the initial unboxing, I had this thing. I really didn't. I thought this might have gone to the air filter or something like that. Really, that's an insert for the fuel funnel. Okay, that's what that is. So you got a double filtration system. Kind of cool, I guess. Good idea. You know, keep any debris out of the mixture. Okay, so this gas can that comes with it's kind of small, but basically they recommend 25-to-1. When I first got it, you'll see in the first video I did, it's kind of having a problem getting it to start with the bar and chain on. Couldn't figure it out, and I said, well, let's thin that out. So instead of 25-to-1, it's pretty thick. Instead of 25-to-1, I probably do 30-to-1 or so, right about there. This will give you about 3 tanks. Okay, I'm not going to do a ton of cutting, but I do have some oak down, so we'll get some of that done. Now, the interior is all clean. Okay, pretty much. Well, let's take this. Okay. This is just a split and stump. It doesn't care. It likes the liquid. Just gonna lap that right up. Okay. Now, the bar. The bar is pretty heavy duty. Let's see. Pretty heavy duty bar, actually, dude. You know, I mean, I've got the Husky 460 Rancher still on the shelf, basically, until I get that piston replaced. Husky, as I'm told, basically, you know, you do want to rotate these. So, I mean, I don't rotate them every time. As you can tell, this side's a lot more worn out than this side. But you do want to rotate them. Just flip it upside down. Not a big deal. Okay. Chain. Now, I wanted to show you, one of you guys asked, does it leak like a sip? This is how you control the oil. Sometimes it's up here, okay? With this one, it's right here, which is pretty convenient. You really don't even have to take off the cover. It's right here. Leaves you good little indentation so you can get to that. You just turn that screw to the right, okay? Can you see that? That's how you control your oil flow. I would recommend turning it right. Otherwise, it, like any other chainsaw, it will leak. So whether your oil screw is up here or down here, you know, it's a good idea to turn that to the right so it doesn't leak all over the place. Okay? Chain. Okay. Sure that's on. Seated properly. Okay, there you go. Give it a pull. Okay. Not seated properly. Should be able to turn. This can kind of get a little crossed up. Make sure that that's on nice and level. Kind of almost wants to turn, but just kind of eyeball it. There, that should be good. Okay. Get this on and tightened up. I'm not going to make you sit through all this. Hang on one sec. All right. Just so you know, once it's seated properly, you should be able to turn it. Okay? All right. It's for the beginner guys, you know. Not everyone is a chainsaw pro. Okay, one sec. Now, the tensioning screw right here, right there. Okay, kind of, it goes into one of these holes depending on which direction you have it flipped. So you can kind of eyeball it. This is going to have to come back. Yeah, just a little bit. No, that's in there. Nope, no. Yeah, it is. Okay. Get these screws. Now, the owner's manual, it's like the first time this is ever really that I've seen it in an owner's manual. And I've, you know, gone through, what, seven chainsaws or so. This is the first one that really tells you how to tune your chainsaw so you can get it operating where you want it to be. Okay, we'll go over that real quick. Let's get it started. Now, this is pretty loose, so you're just going to come in, tighten that up. Kind of a pain being up front. Well, hang on, is that on? Maybe that tensioner needs to go back to the left a little. Take this off and eyeball it, make sure it's in. The tensioner screw has got to fall into that hole, otherwise defeated purpose, right? Okay. are we? Okay, so that needs to come forward, which means the tensioning screw needs to come back to the left. That's typical, you know, with every chainsaw. Once you change the chain, obviously it's loose. So you got to loosen that tension. This screw needs to go back so it'll fit again, and then you can get it nice and tight again. Okay, there it goes. Now it's on. Okay, this by hand. You don't want it too tight. You could strip that tensioning screw. It's happened. I've done it before. So just kind of get it on there, and then you see how loose that is. Okay. Now, know that tensioning screws in. What this is going to do is move the bar forward, and at the same time tighten that chain up. Okay? I do like a little room for that to flex. Once it heats up, that chain is going to loosen anyhow, and as you're cutting more and more wood, you can get it pinched and stuff like that. It'll pull on that chain as you're cutting through wood. Okay, so that's good enough. I'm just going to tighten that up. You don't need to make it Herculean tight, you know, but you want to be able, that's another thing. These the caps for the fuel and oil tanks. The fuel tank's fine, okay? These caps here, that comes out pretty easy. As a matter of fact, let's top that off. Okay. Should have enough for a tank full, but like I said, I'm not going to cut that much wood with it. We had some, I had a giant oak. When I say giant, no, it's not 150 feet tall, but it's pretty big. And oak is really hard wood. So what I did, told the contractor to save the branches so I can use that in the smoker. That's good enough. And we saved the top of the tree, cut them into 8-foot sections so I could use that as part of my raised garden bed. I may end up splitting it vertically down the middle instead of bucking it. Split it vertically so I can get more out of it. But I'm going to peel them and then burn them with a torch. I got a propane torch, you know, propane tank. You just get the torch, a connection for it. See there? Should turn. This one, the oiler cap. Got to be careful about that. So you could bust your screwdriver right through that. That's rubber. Okay, so be careful with that. I sometimes will just use a file. If you got a sharpening file, you know, flat file, use that instead of a screwdriver, especially on the oil cap. But okay, so now it's cleaned up. Tension's about right. That's where I like it. The little gloves they give you. Oh, by the way, they do recommend 10W30 for bar oil. That's the first time I've heard of that too, which is kind of cool. save a little money and borrow the gloves they give you. You could just use them as inserts, you know, especially in the fall, winter time. Pretty cool. All right, let's show you. Yes, I still have my tent up. Son and I are looking to do some camping, so we're kind of practicing with him in the back, just to see how he does. He's been doing well. One sec, we'll cut some of this up. Okay, another quick thing, tuning, right? So this is your tuning screwdriver. It comes with the chainsaw. Okay, you'll notice that this side here is a little longer. Okay, there's a reason for that. Basically, like any chainsaw, okay, you've got 3 ports or 3 holes. This is your throttle up here. Okay, so when you start it up, if the chain spins and spins, and it doesn't, you know, you stop chainsawing and it's still spinning, just turn the throttle down right here, you know, put it in there, turn it to the left. Do it a quarter turn at a time until it stops. Okay, this is your high jet. Hang on. High jet, low jet. High jet, what you do, turn those screws all the way to the right. You back the high jet up. Okay, so this is where, let me see. This is where this is important here. You point that when it gets all the way to the right. Take that little plastic part, that long part. Okay, that's your starting point. Give that, you back that screw out 1.5 turns. Okay, on the low jet, it recommends 1 3/4. And then you can adjust from there. If you want it screaming fast, take that high jet, turn it a quarter to the right. Okay, the low jet, you could back that out, especially if it's still spinning when you're cutting. Okay, with this chainsaw, again, usually it's 1 or 2 pulls on the throttle, and then 1 or 2 pulls once the throttle's in. So let's give it a whirl. Throttle out. This could have a little more room, but that's okay. Power button up. Okay, when it's down, that's off. So you want it up, throttle out. See a catch. Throttle in. Turn right up. You can see that chain spinning. Now it's slowing down. Once you warm it up, warms up, you turn the throttle down. That screw on the throttle, turn that down. That'll stop the chainsaw from spinning. Okay. You can also turn that low jet down a little bit and tune it that way. It does kind of smoke a lot, but that's probably from the higher oil mixture. 25 to 1 is too high. So I'm probably operating 30 to 1, right around there. Haven't had any problems with it. All right, guys, so that's it. I mean, if you don't own it, then I think, you know, it was 130 bucks we paid for a 3-year warranty. It's definitely worth it, even if it's 150. CMA 6800 68cc. I got the 20-inch bar. It operates a lot better for what I use. I also did buy the Neotech 68cc with a 22-inch bar, just in case. But this thing's been a beast all year long. You know, 2 pulls, bam, it's up and running. So, what else? I think that's it. It comes with the owner's manual. It's also basically the FarmTec 6800 or AmotoSport 68cc. Basically the same chainsaw. I bought this. It was advertised as a MotoSport, which is owned by Honda. When I got it, it's basically a CMA-680. That's what you're looking for. 130 to 150 bucks. Definitely worth it. It's lasted a season. It's already paid for itself. Okay, so you know, you take down one tree and it paid for itself. You know, trees, just to take them down is $250, you know, and all that. So you take down one tree, we've taken down several. It's already paid for itself. So, in my opinion, definitely worth it. Yeah, it's 68cc. Even if it's not, say it's 65 or whatever, it's still pretty powerful freaking chainsaw. So that's pretty much it. I think, you know, if you have more questions, let me know. I'll try to answer them in the description or the comment section. Pretty good purchase as far as I'm concerned. You know, just kind of homesteading out here. And we do take down a lot of trees. I've taken down probably about 150. Not all of them are huge, massive trees like this thing. But mostly oak, hickory, got some maple. this thing's, you know, already paid for itself. So that's it from the Reed Homestead. Until next time, guys, you know, please comment, like the video, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We have some fun. We'll be doing some cooking here shortly. But until next time, God bless. Reed Homestead out.